Florida Governor Rick Scott signed an executive order last week making drug tests mandatory for all state employees once every 3 months. Now, that is not permissible. The Supreme Court says you're not allowed to do that. You can only test public employees if you have a reasonable suspicion of use or they're working in a public safety job. Rick Scott looks at that and goes, who cares? I'm going to test them anyway. Now, the state legislature is also considering a bill that Scott proposed during the campaign that would also test welfare recipients for drugs. And he would get a load of this. He would also charge the welfare recipients for their own tests. They're on welfare. They don't have the money. That's why they're coming for welfare. Now, that's all bad enough, right? Ignoring the law, et cetera, et cetera. But why is he doing this? You ready? Turns out that he co-founded an urgent care chain by the name of Solantic. Are you ready for what Solantic specializes in? Drug testing. Oh, come on, man. I'm blown away by that, man. How does he do that? That is the most unbelievable conflict of interest I've ever heard. And he says, no, it's okay. I transferred the interest in the company to a revocable trust, so I don't have it anymore. Do you know who he transferred it to? His wife. Come on, man, come on. This is the most brazen thing I've ever seen. I guess he doesn't care. But look, here's why he doesn't care. Remember, this is the guy who used to run Columbia HCA. They pled guilty to 14 felonies. They were doing Medicare fraud. They paid a record $1.7 billion in criminal and civil fines. He walked away a multimillionaire anyway. He got over $300 million in stock options. So he figures, I keep getting away with it, and now I'm the governor, why not keep going? But there's an extra twist. Rick Scott says that he will not allow a database to track prescriptions of Vicodin, Percocet, and other painkillers. Now, the Republicans wanted that. The GOP legislature approved it 2 years ago, and they're mad about it now. He's defying the Republicans. Why is he doing that? But let's give you a sense of the problem first. 34 states use databases to keep track of oxycodone and other painkillers. Florida is the largest state without one. Are you ready for this? The DEA said that during the first 6 months of 2010, Florida doctors sold 9 times more oxycodone than the rest of the United States combined. 9 times more. Obviously, there's a huge prescription drug abuse problem in Florida. It's a mill, and in fact, they've written about it saying it's a mill. Why doesn't he want to stop that? Why does he pretend to care about drugs when it comes to welfare recipients and state employees, but he doesn't when it's prescription drugs? Well, I'm keeping it real here. Rich white people take prescription drugs. That's his base. Those are the people who gave him money. I mean, I can't think of anything else. Why in the world wouldn't he go after that? Even Republicans are tearing their hair out saying go after that. And by the way, there's also one other guy in Florida who's a fairly famous prescription drug abuser, Rush Limbaugh. All of a sudden, Rick Scott says, oh, privacy issues. We can't have that database. But there is one little final irony to all of this. Rick Scott is now a state employee. So will he also be tested? And why does he want to enable prescription drug abuse in his state so much? Those are both good questions. Joining me now is former Democratic Congressman from Florida, Alan Grayson, to answer some of those questions. Look, that conflict of interest blows me away. He's got a company making millions of dollars from drug tests, and he's pushing the drug tests all over Florida. I mean, should they investigate that? What should they do about that?
Well, look, he spent $70 million to buy the office of governor in Florida, and he wants a return on his money. He promised us that he was going to run state government like a business. What we didn't realize is that he was going to run it like his business, like it's all his. And that's exactly what he's been doing. It's not only what you said. In addition to that, he wants to cut all state funding for health care clinics. There are 4 million people in Florida who can't afford to see a doctor when they're sick. They have to go to health care clinics. He's going to shut them all down, so they'll be forced to go to Rick Scott's clinics.
I mean, it's beyond absurd. So, again, let me turn to the prescription problem, because that's a whole nother thing. Why does he not want to track these prescription drugs?
Well, you said that Florida has 9 times as much as the rest of the country combined. I think 8 times as much as Rush Limbaugh alone. It's exactly what you said. I don't think he wants to take the heat from Rush Limbaugh.
You think it's just that simple? On Rush Limbaugh alone, he's like, let's leave these guys alone.
Well, look, all the right-wing leaders have catered to Rush Limbaugh for years and years. You know, he says jump and they say how high. And you're seeing that now with the governor of Florida.
So let's go back to the election for a second, because there's a new poll out that says if the elections were held today, Rick Scott would actually lose by 19 points. That's a huge swing. So obviously the people of Florida, once he got into power, and it didn't take long, were like, whoa, that is not what we expected. So what did they expect and what did they get?
Listen, this is somebody who made his fortune by cheating sick people. And the only reason why he got in the first place is because Democrats in Florida, like Democrats all across the country, simply didn't vote in 2010. And it's like Ed Koch said in his last election. He said, the voters have spoken and now they'll be punished for it. And that's exactly what you're seeing in Florida. We're being punished for it. This is someone who is unfit to be governor. This is someone who is unfit for any job. My thinking was that he'd get elected, he'd assume office, and then he'd pardon himself and quit. But unfortunately, he's doing far worse than that. He's using the state of Florida to stuff money in his own pocket because he thinks the real problems facing Florida today, with 4 million people without health insurance, with 13% unemployment, the real problem in Florida today is that Rick Scott doesn't have enough money. And he's dead set on doing something to correct that problem.
So final question for you. What can the people of Florida do about this? Now that they realize the scam that he ran on them, and you see they don't like him anymore, and they're like, whoa, I didn't know he was going to funnel all of this business to his own companies, now run by his wife. What can they do about it?
Look, it's a fundamental problem. The government is being run by a corrupt clique called the Republican Party of Florida. The last person who was in charge of the Republican Party of Florida was led away in chains and has been indicted. It's as if the state has been taken over by the mafia. That's how bad the Republican Party of Florida is. And unfortunately, the governor himself appoints 5 of the 9 members of the Florida Ethics Commission. So you can be sure that all those Republicans are going to do nothing about this. The only recourse we may have in the end is to storm the Bastille.
Okay, but seriously, what if he says, hey, you know what? Look, I am going to make more money. This money's going to get funneled to my companies because I'm going to drug test everybody. Okay, I'm going to drug test you and your dog, and all that money's going to get funneled to me. What are you going to do about it? What can we do about it?
I'm just glad that Rick Scott's company doesn't do proctological examinations, because then we'd all have to bend over and cough.
All right, well, Congressman Grayson, you are definitely clear on the topic, and we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.